The following audio is best experienced with a subwoofer. The Myth of Woofax, Volume 3, The Veil Whisper.
I'm the bad guy. That's not to say I'm evil, just that I'd never cared about making much of a difference in the world. I live alone, leading a quiet, uneventful life. My trailer sits by itself just around a bend in the road outside of a small town, perched on the edge of the woods like a forgotten memory. Years ago, I worked at the old dam north of town. I was in charge of a team doing structural repairs, reinforcing weak points in the concrete. The dam had been showing stress fractures, and it was our job to make sure those cracks didn't get worse. Then the accident happened. I was below the spillway when one of the hydraulic jacks failed. No warning, no time to react. The whole damn thing collapsed in a blink. I'll never forget the awful metal screeching as the concrete shifted. This massive chunk of the dam slammed into the repair site. The debris knocked me over, something in my back snapping as I hit the ground. But that wasn't the worst part. I lay there, barely able to move with my back on fire, when I heard the screams. My coworkers, my friends trapped under the concrete. Most of them didn't make it. I still see their faces when I close my eyes, twisted in pain, pleading for help. I couldn't move. I just watched. That's the kind of shit that sticks with you. Ever since that day, my back's been wrecked. Constant pain, every damn day. They gave me a settlement for it, enough to cover my trailer and keep me from working. And I stay out of everyone's way, content to live my life like a hermit. The months blur together, an endless cycle of TV and numbing myself with drugs and alcohol. I don't need much, and I don't want much. But something was coming. Something that would change my life and this town forever. Step out into the darkness, the air feels heavy with mist. Tiny droplets shimmering as they pass through the dull glow of the lone street lamp near my trailer. The world feels half asleep, cloaked in rain and shadow, and that's how I like it these days. I slide into my old beat-up truck, the engine groaning to life. It's time for my weekly routine. Same time, same place, whatever my dealer's got. dealer's place is a rundown farmhouse, barely standing out in the real rural stretches beyond town. The porch creaks as I walk up, and he greets me at the door with that familiar quirky smile, like we've done this dance 100 times. Inside, the place is dim and cluttered, the air heavy with the stale scent of smoke. I drop into the familiar faded red couch, and we make our usual exchange. Pills and powder are the standard for me. But tonight, there's something different. He turns to me, eyes gleaming with a devilish excitement.
You want to try something new?
He says, voice low. He tells me about a hallucinogen he just got a hold of, something called Woofax. He claims it's fast, intense, a real mind bender. Out a vial of dark liquid, swirling it around. He claims just a small dose on the tongue is all we need. I don't hesitate. As always, I recklessly agree. Hits in waves, spreading a heavy warmth through my body. My thoughts dissolve into a hazy fog as time slips away. I melt into the couch, gravity pulling me deeper. Shadows stretch and breathe, and the edges of my vision ripple. Shapes warp and bend, blurring the room into something unreal. I'm really high. Something different about this drug, not just stronger, there was an underlying feeling that it was touching something far beyond my comprehension. I felt like I was brushing up against something I wasn't supposed to see. I begin to hear a soft voice, like a whisper, peep into my head. But as soon as it starts, my high shuts off like a light switch, as if I hadn't taken anything at all. I sit up, blinking at the ordinary room around me, feeling an unsettling clarity. Strange. I get up off the couch, say goodbye to my dealer, and head back to my truck. This time of the night, the road is always empty, darkness pressing on all sides. I'm used to driving on this road at night, but tonight, for some reason, I feel nervous. My headlights carve out thin beams of light, but the shadows beyond feel endless, suffocating. Every turn feels like something might leap from the void, waiting just outside my vision. The kind of dark emptiness that gets under your skin. This town doesn't help either. Once a mining hub, now just a pit stop. The mines closed long ago, leaving the freight railway and the old northern dam, both relics themselves at this point. Old-timers whispered about things best left undisturbed, especially around the mines. I never paid much attention, but maybe I should have. As I drive past a bend, my headlights briefly catch something, tall, unmoving like a statue, standing just off the road, half hidden in the shadows.
From concrete streets, we rise to the beat.
I've driven this road hundreds of times and I've never seen that before. As I pass the bend, something feels off. That thing, whatever it is, wasn't there before. I glance in the rear view, half expecting it to have vanished, but it's still there. I keep driving, really nervous now, until I see it again in front of me. Closer this time. I hit the brakes, click on the high beams. I need to know what this is.
From concrete streets, we rise to the beat.
As my headlights hit it, I see it. A towering humanoid creature, its body covered in dark matted fur, like it's been pulled from some forgotten nightmare. Its enormous leathery wings are folded down like a bat's, casting long shadows that seem to shift and breathe with a life of their own. Its skin is black as night, blending into the darkness, but what stands out are its eyes. Two glowing red orbs cutting through the shadows. It looks wrong, like it doesn't belong in this reality. Its edges blur, shrouded in an impossible haze. The creature flickers, struggling to stay in focus in my eyes. It's surrounded by shadows that twist and ripple unnaturally around its body. At first, I think it's a hallucination, a trick from my substance-addled mind. It suddenly turns its head and locks eyes with me. My blood runs cold. The realization that this thing is looking directly at me sends a jolt of terror through my body. I freak out. I throw the truck into reverse, tires screeching. No, 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 no. I mutter over and over. I watch the massive figure shoot off from the ground into flight. I slam on the gas and watch as the red glowing eyes float in my rearview mirror. Even over the roar of my engine, I can hear the thunderous flapping of those massive wings. It lets out an inhuman screech. A sound, for a brief moment, brings me back to the accident as I recall the noise of 100 tons of metal and concrete scraping together. My foot slams the gas pedal to the floor, my shrieks are echoing inside the cab of my truck. sharp turn, way too fast. Panic claws at my chest. I slam on the brakes, tires screeching against the wet asphalt. The steering wheel fights me as I yank it hard, the tires skidding wildly. Headlights slash in the darkness, twisted trees blurring past. The truck fishtails, teetering on the edge of control. My back feels like it's about to snap under the tension. The old truck groans, metal grinding, threatening to fall apart. Shadows leap around me, and for a terrifying second, the wheels lose grip. I brace for an impact, but then the tires bite into the road and the truck lurches forward. I don't dare look back. I slam the gas, the engine roaring, pushing the vehicle to its limits. The dark highway stretches ahead like an endless void, swallowing my headlights. Come on, I whisper, pressing the pedal hard. The road twists, a maze of darkness. Finally, the weight lifts. The wings, the eyes. It seems like they're gone. But the fear lingers. I keep refusing to stop till I'm sure. Clings to me, tightening with every breath. I can still feel it. Red eyes burning into my mind. I throw back a handful of pills and chase them with whatever alcohol I can find, desperate to drown out the image. Was it real? Or just drugs? I can't shake the feeling. The doubt gnaws at me. I sit in the dim glow of flickering TV, but it feels distant, like a hollow distraction. Shadows seem to crawl at the edge of the room, stretching just like they did on the road. My back injury is throbbing. My head spins and I close my eyes, trying to push the thoughts away. Finally, exhaustion pulls me under and I pass out on the couch, the TV casting dull flashes of light across the room. But even as I slip into unconsciousness, the feeling doesn't leave me. It lingers in the back of my mind, as if waiting for something.
What do you see?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. I practiced the whole afternoon and got me in the mood. You need some fresh air. I've got to make a call out past the lake. Would you like to come along for the ride? What do you see?
A shot.
silence. The TV is still glowing, but the sound is gone, leaving the room bathed in a cold, eerie light. A heavy feeling of dread hangs in the air, thick enough to choke on. Still drunk and half conscious, I turn toward the hallway leading to the bedroom. And there it is, the same towering figure, red eyes glowing through the shadows. It's staring straight at me. Still blurry and indistinct, like a shadow that refuses to come into focus. The body is hulking with long, sinewy arms and leathery wings that drape behind it, almost touching the floor. Its red eyes are the only clear thing, two burning orbs that pierce the darkness, making me feel like a prey caught in a predator's gaze. My chest tightens. I'm frozen, trapped by its stare, unable to move, as if locked in one of those dreams where you can't run, forced to witness whatever horror stands before you. Maybe I am in a nightmare. Then a loud whisper fills my mind, more overwhelming than any sound I've ever heard. The voice is deep, resonating unnaturally loud with my head, inescapable. There's no movement to its face when it speaks. It's whispering directly into my thoughts. "Who are you?" I managed to stammer, my voice barely holding together.
"I am the Veil Whisper,"
it replies.
"I represent many minds."
Through my body like a blast of cold air. The Veil Whisper speaks of a coming catastrophe, a train derailment, giving me the exact time, a little more than 2 days from now. He then tells me a name, Raymond Decker.
"You must end this life to prevent the disaster. You must kill to save."
It whispers, the weight of its words crushing me. My mind reels. Kill someone? The thought twists my stomach, nausea rolling through me. How could I even process this? The horror of what it's asking makes it hard to breathe. As I try to respond, the whispers grow louder, smothering my thoughts like an unwanted lullaby. Its huge form sinks into the shadows and suddenly, it's gone. I can move again. I can think again. As the sun rises, I start feeling strung out again. A dull ache pulsing through my skull and my back injury aching as usual. My gut twist was something heavier, the processing of trauma. I don't know if what happened was real. Was the veil whisper just a symptom of my mind fracturing? Of a psychotic break? A hallucination from the drugs? But then I remember the name and the time. Raymond Decker. Grabbing my phone with shaking hands, I searched for the name in my town. The shocks ripple through me. Not only is there a Raymond Decker, but he's a train conductor. 2 days. 2 days until the crash the Veil Whisper warned me about. This all started after I took that drug. I had to know everything my dealer knew about it. I texted and called, but got nothing in return. The silence gnawed at me. Growing impatient, I stormed out the door, teeth grinding, and jumped into my truck. I wasn't waiting any longer. I had to see him face to face. On his door until he finally stumbled out, bleary-eyed and confused by my manic state. "What the hell was that shit you gave me last night?" I demanded, my voice on the edge of breaking.
I don't know, man. My pod gave it to me when they passed through town,
he said nervously.
I tried calling him too, but they've gone off the grid.
"Has anything happened to you? Have you seen anything since last night?" He rubbed his face, still trying to wake up.
Look, dude, I don't know what that stuff was, but I've been on the edge ever since we took it. Like, something's watching me.
His usual quirky demeanor was gone. Fear flickered in his eyes.
I don't like this, man. Something's really off. Have you seen the news today? The shit's messed up.
He turned on his TV and a local news report flashed on the screen. The reporter spoke over footage of shaky phone videos and witness interviews, all describing sightings of a large creature with red eyes and wings. A crude sketch appeared on the screen, and my stomach dropped. There it was, the thing I had seen.
Step in, I said, wicked, what you doing like that? I feel like that, it's like that thing, the time that thing you do, you did. What you doing, what you did, step in, I said, wicked, what you doing like that? I feel like that, it's like that thing, the time that thing you do, you did. What you doing, what you did, step in, I said, what you doing, what you did, step in, I said, wicked. And I said, wicked, and I said, wicked.
A strange sense of relief washes over me. I wasn't losing my mind. It was real. I opened my mouth about to tell him everything, but something stopped me. No one on the news mentioned the name Veil Whisper. Not one person spoke of hearing its voice, or the name Decker, or the train crash. It seems like I'm the only one it communicated with. I don't know why it chose me, but it did. I was alone in this. I couldn't stop checking the local news. More sightings, more reports of that same creature with red eyes. Every update made my pulse quicken, my thoughts spiral. I needed to do something, but what? I spent the rest of the night frantically searching for Raymond Decker. His name was burned into my mind. It didn't take long. His home address was alarmingly easy to find in the town's property tax records. The clock was creeping past 3 a.m., but sleep wasn't even an option anymore. My heart was pounding too hard, my mind racing too fast. Without thinking, I got into my truck and drove straight to his house. It was a quiet, nice suburban area. I parked at the end of the street, my eyes locked on his house in the distance. Inside my sweatshirt, my hand gripped my kitchen knife. The handle slick with sweat. What was I even doing here? I didn't know. My pulse thudded in my ears and my stomach churned as I tried to summon the courage to see this through. By the time dawn began to break, I felt the weight of 30 sleepless hours bearing down on me. My body was shaking, my mind fraying at the edges, and my old back injury was on fire. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know if I could actually go through with it. At 6 a.m., Decker's front door light flicks on. I stepped out of my truck with my hoodie up and walked toward the house. back, my palms slipping on the knife. The front door creaked open and Decker stepped out. This was it. A huge surge of adrenaline hit me as I moved faster down the sidewalk. At the edge of his driveway, the knife felt heavier in my hand, my grip tightening as I struggled to visualize the next move. Each step felt like crossing a line I couldn't return from. He's just a few meters away, head down, distracted by his phone. He doesn't even notice me. I start closing the distance, my breath shallow and ragged. I couldn't stop now. Paces away from him when I notice a second person standing in the doorway. Probably his wife with a dog at her feet. All the courage I'd mustered drains away in an instant. My grip on the knife falters. Deckard looks up and meets my eyes.
Can I help you?
He asks confidently, his gaze steady and untroubled. For a moment, I stand frozen, my mind a frantic blur. The weight of what I was about to do crashes over me like a cold wave. Everything seemed normal. Too normal. They were just people, a family, and here I was, standing in their driveway, gripping a knife under my shirt. The world felt too fragile, too real. I couldn't do this.
I'm sorry, I'm at the wrong address.
I stammered, forcing the words out. I spin around and walk quickly away, my heart pounding so loudly I was afraid they could hear it. Each step feels heavy, my legs barely supporting me as I put as much distance between us as possible. I drove aimlessly through town, my mind clouded with shame. I had failed. The image of Decker standing there alive and unaware haunted me. My grip tightened on the steering wheel and I felt the weight of the knife still tucked into my sweatshirt. Useless. I was useless. I needed to numb everything, needed to silence the voice in my head that whispered of failure. When I got home, I grabbed the pills, did some rails, and drank whatever was left in the bottle of tequila. I collapsed onto the couch. The Veil Whisper's command echoed in my mind as I drifted into oblivion. When I woke up, feeling like hell was the least of my problems. The news was already reported everywhere and the images confirmed my worst fears. The cargo train that ran through town had derailed that afternoon. Hundreds of injuries, fatalities. Decker, who was apparently intoxicated on the job, had been blamed for the accident. The irony wasn't lost on me. If only I'd acted, perhaps he wouldn't have been on that train. Or maybe my intervention wouldn't have mattered at all. The guilt tightened its grip on me. The Veil Whisper had been right. My trauma was triggered as they showed the wreckage, a twisted heap of metal and fire scattered across the tracks. People blamed the creature. The town buzzed with rumors, each sighting of red eyes fueling the chaos, but nobody knew its true purpose. Only I did. And the town started to settle back into its routine. The sightings slowed down and soon people stopped talking about the creature altogether. I also began to sink back into my life, back into numbing myself into apathy. That was until the night I was visited again. was another rainy, miserable night when I felt it, its presence, before I even saw it. I froze. The same oppressive silence fell over the room, and I knew it was here. The glowing red eyes pierced the darkness, staring right into me. This time, I was different. My mind was clearer, more open. I was less afraid, despite the weight of its power pressing down on me. It spoke, and its voice was more commanding now.
The first message was to show you the truth.
It explained.
Now your real task begins.
Even though my body pulsed with fear, I kept my mind tranquil and listened.
A monstrous being sleeps beneath your town. If it awakens, your world ends. It must remain buried.
What do you want me to do? I asked, my voice surprisingly steady.
You must flood the town.
It commanded, the weight of its words sending a shiver through me. It suddenly made sense why the Veil Whisperer had chosen to speak to just me. I was one of the few people left who had worked on the dam, patched up its fractures. I knew where it could be broken. I knew where its weak points were and how to exploit them.
Danger flows. Monsters, fearing in the shadow. Just not true.
Echoed in my mind long after it had vanished. Flood the town? Destroy everything? Could I really go through with it? The faces of my coworkers flashed before me, the ones I watched die in front of me. Was I about to fail others again? But if I did nothing, everyone would perish. I wasn't sure if it was the fear of the creature beneath the town or the calm conviction in the Veil Whisperer's voice, but I knew I couldn't ignore the command. Something much bigger rested on my shoulders now. The town had to be flooded. I was sure of it. the next day devising a plan. During the repairs, I had seen fractures up close, the patch jobs that barely held. If I could get into that facility and manipulate the floodgates to over-pressurize the dam, I could force the cracks wide open, and the dam would collapse on its own. I dug deep into my closet and grabbed my old work jacket and hat with the company logos. I waited for the sun to set and drove over to the facility. My hands shook slightly as I reached the security gate. The guard was a young kid, which I was happy about. "Hey dude," I greeted him. "I left my backpack here today with my phone, my badge, and my wallet in it. I'm just coming back to grab it right now." I made sure the company logo on my jacket was turned toward him and my hard hat sat on the dash.
You don't have any ID at all?"
He asked slowly. I pulled out my old employee ID. It was faded but still recognizable as me. "Found my old one in my truck," I said, flashing it briefly. The guard glanced at it and shrugged.
"All right, be quick."
He waved me through. When I was out of sight, I parked and immediately headed to the control room. For a moment, I almost turned back, but the image of the train crash and the whispers in my head pushed me forward. A heavy-duty door designed to withstand force, but there was a universal emergency access door code that I had because I was a supervisor. I was hoping it would still work. The code would immediately trigger an alarm, but it was my only option. As soon as I saw that panel light green and the lock clicked, I knew I only had minutes before security arrived, and I needed longer than that to build the pressure on the dam. I slid a big wrench through the door handle, and then dragged the desk across the room and shoved it against the door. It wouldn't hold them forever, but hopefully give me enough time. Inside the control room, everything looked as it had when I worked there. All I had to do was manipulate the floodgates, force them open to cause pressure to build. I knew exactly which controls to target, which weak spots would give away first. I took a breath and started. floodgates wouldn't be easy to override. They were designed to fail safely, not under pressure like this. As the machinery roared to life, I could feel the tremors beneath my feet. Alarms began to blare, but I ignored them and kept working. I could hear at least 4 security guards screaming and kicking at the jammed door. Water rushed from the reservoir, the floodgates creaking as they strained against the pressure. The sound of cracking concrete echoed through the control room, and I felt a strange sense of calm. The guards trying to break down the door were gone, probably trying to save themselves. I removed the makeshift door jamb and left the control room. I quickly headed down to the bottom toward the maintenance spillway deck. The outflow was already underwater by the time I got there. This spot is close to where so many of my friends and coworkers had lost their lives that day, so many years ago. Then it happened. A deafening crack split the air, followed by a roar of water. The dam gave way, and a wall of water surged forward, crashing down into the valley. The ground trembled beneath me, and before I knew it, I was swept off my feet, tumbling into the water. Like a leaf in the breeze. 1 second I was on the platform, the next I was submerged, my limbs thrashing as the current dragged me down. The world was a blur of darkness and rushing sound, everything spinning out of control. I reached for something, anything to hold on to, but my outstretched arms touched nothing but water. I did this. I caused this destruction. The thought pierced through my mind as the current dragged me under, swirling me around in the floodwaters. I gasped for air, fighting to keep my head above the surface. Every movement sent searing pain through my wrecked back. The cold water was numbing, but maybe that was the only reason I hadn't drowned yet. I thought that was the end. Then suddenly, I saw sunlight. I dragged my limbs through the freezing water to the surface and gasped. I was floating down Main Street, water rushing around me. The town was half sunk, swallowed by the flood. Buildings were ruined, streets turned into rivers. And then I saw it, the Veil Whisperer, perched like a crow on top of a utility pole sticking out of the water, watching over the destruction. Its red eyes glowed in the dawn light as if satisfied with what I had done. I lay adrift on the floodwaters, barely able to keep my eyes open. Relief mingled with the grim reality of what I had done. I had saved humanity from an ancient horror. But the world would never know. They would only see me as the villain, the one who destroyed a town. Like I said in the beginning, I'm the bad guy. But I knew the truth. Sometimes you had to be the villain to prevent a greater evil. I had done what had to be done. I had saved them from something far worse than floodwaters. I always thought nothing I did mattered, yet here I was, making the ultimate sacrifice. In the end, I made a difference. A dark, terrible difference. And that truth would be mine to carry, an unspoken burden, lost in the veil, known only as a whisper in the dark.